Welcome to the 4040 Vision podcast. I am your host, Khaled Abdallah, and I'm joined today by my good friend, Vince Wetzel. How you doing today, Vince?
Great. Hey, I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming on. So Vince is a two-time author with his latest book called Lose Yourself, which is available on all major online retailers. And that's what today's topic is. Vince's book. We're going to talk about the journey, the process of writing the book, the inspiration, all that stuff. I've got the book right here. You can see it on the screen, little promo here. And as you can see, there's a baseball on the cover, and it is a baseball book, but it goes a lot deeper than that. So before we jump into the book and all that, we'll make sure to do our best not to spoil it. When did your love affair with baseball begin? Because this book kind of felt like a love letter to a couple things, but baseball before anything else.
Yeah, certainly. I grew up in Bakersfield, California. You have it's not a big baseball tradition, but at the time when I was growing up, the Dodgers had a single A farm club in Bakersfield, but it's still like 2.5 hours to go to a game. But it wasn't until I went to college down in near Los Angeles in Laverne, California, and I actually got an internship with the Dodgers in 1995. And at the time I was a fan, but during that season I really fell in love with the game. You go to the ballpark every day. You get to meet the players, you get to meet the people around the team. It was at that time that I really got the full feel of the entire season and just the environment of the game and of the stadium. It was a great opportunity, and I think that's where the baseball really and its connection to history. Especially working for the Dodgers, you get that connection to history, and so reading all of that, seeing all the players, going into Tommy Lasorda's uh, office and seeing Pee Wee Reese just sitting on the couch,
Just hanging
Sandy
out.
Koufax just walking in. It just kind of it just really you can't help but fall in love with the game in those environments.
I'll admit that baseball has taken, a much smaller role in my life these days. It's just, you only have a certain amount of fan width, I think is the term I've heard. And, baseball has kind of fallen by the wayside, but it was one of my first loves, growing up in the Bay Area. We had the opportunity to watch the Oakland A's, the Giants, two, good teams with great history. And that's the history part. You really hit on that. And that's what still keeps me interested in the game is, you'll see someone break a record, Shohei Ohtani will have some crazy game. And they'll be like, oh, this is the first time this has happened since, 1897 with the, I don't know, the Rochester, whatever, Royals or something like
Yeah.
that, and you're like, wow, this is just, it's 130, 140 years, whatever of history. And there's nothing else like it, even if, like I said, it has taken a smaller role in my life. So with the Dodgers, was there any other moments? I mean, I'm sure you were starstruck plenty of times, but any other real like, wow, I can't believe I'm here type moments?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, you kind of opening day, you always go, "Wow, this is amazing," and this is kind of interesting. So I was an intern in the media department, so worked in the press box and everything. And one of the jobs I had to do was sorting all of the media guides in the cabinet. And of course, it's the '90s, so it's all paperbacks, type of things. And so I'm putting in all of the media guides, and then I see a box in the back, and I go, "What's that?" I pull it out, I open it up, and it's Raul Mondesi's Rookie of the Year award. I was holding Raul Mondesi's Rookie of the Year award, so that was always kind of a moment. And then also just washing my hands in the and right next to me in the bathroom comes Vince Scully. I mean, what happens there? It's just these opportunities to see the people, be a part of it. And this was during the O'Malley years, so one of the last family-owned baseball teams in the league. So it really brought in a family atmosphere as well. So all of those moments where you're just kind of like sitting there, just going, "Wow, this is amazing."
Yeah. So I mentioned that this was a love letter to baseball. I also felt like this was a love letter to the Oakland Coliseum,
Hmm.
which is a place I know you're a Raiders fan just like me. We have a little, cross pollination there with the A's and the Raiders. I've got
Yep.
my baseball's last dive bar shirt on. I've got my
Yeah,
Raiders
there
hat
you
on.
go.
So we've had plenty of memories at the Coliseum, both good and bad. So when did that connection for you start with the Oakland Coliseum?
Yeah, definitely. So, my wife is from the East Bay, um, and her family's there, and so I met her in college. And so when after she graduated college, I was a sports writer in Lancaster, California, and so at that point, I moved up and I took a job as a sports writer with A&G newspapers, so basically the Oakland Tribune and some of the other local papers in that area. And we lived in Hayward, um, and newlyweds just starting out, and remember they used to have Dollar Wednesdays,
Yeah,
dollar tickets, dollar dogs.
dollar hot dogs.
So
Yep,
when you're just starting out and you got high rent, and we'll drive to the BART parking lot, park there, then walk across the bridge, get a dollar ticket, get a dog, and we've had date night for $5, right? So we went to like
can't beat
20,
that.
30 games a year, and that was at that time, that was the big three: Hudson, Mulder, Zito, Giambi, Tejada, those years. So, John Jaha, Matt Stairs, those guys.
Great
So
time to
it
be an
was
A's fan.
a lot of fun to go to those games. It was it was like watching a beer league softball game out there, and it was a lot of fun to go. And at the time, a weekday game, pretty easy to get a ticket. Obviously,
Hmm.
weekend games is just there's nothing better than to have a tailgate, which is that was another draw of the Coliseum. It's one of the last ballparks where you can tailgate before a game. So you got that opportunity to just be a part of the atmosphere. And I've always contended that it is the closest baseball environment to a college football game that you can get. When it's really hopping,
Yeah.
it feels more like a college football game than a baseball game.
Hmm. Yeah, especially in the bleachers, the right field bleachers. That's like the real rowdy crowd with the drums, and it's almost like a soccer atmosphere too, where they're singing and dancing the entire time, playing the drums. It's like a Mexican soccer crowd where they're just
Right.
getting hype. Yeah, it's a really special place. I mean, I have so many memories associated with it. My first time going, I think I grew up in San Jose, Santa Clara, so about 30, 40 minutes away. I think my first game was in high school. It was like my first trip, out with all my buddies. We went to a weekend A's game. I don't even remember who we were playing or anything or the result. I just remember riding BART for the first time, and it was this huge deal, and it's just an amazing memory of again walking across that bridge, seeing all the hot dog vendors, the guys selling T-shirts and bootleg hats and all that stuff. And my first date with my now wife, like our first official date, was at the Oakland Coliseum.
Yep.
So just the memories associated with everything. So as I was reading the book and you're describing the fans and the different locations, I could just I was picturing it all just in my mind's eye as everything was happening. There that one part again. I don't want to give any spoilers, but where one of the characters ends up in right field, and it just yeah, everything I could just picture it all. And it was just amazing to read all that and again just have that connection with it. Uh, so as far as the book itself,
Hmm.
I know reading, I believe in the acknowledgments, you said you've been marinating on this idea for a really long time. So tell us about the inspiration behind the book and what really sparked the idea in your mind.
Yeah. Thanks. So I on my honeymoon about 25 years ago, went to Maui and you bring books, because you're just gonna just relax the whole time. So I brought two baseball novels with me. I brought Shoeless Joe, which is the basis for the film Field of Dreams, right? And I brought another book by Elliot Asimov, who wrote Eight Men Out. He wrote a novel called Man on Spike. So I read those and I fell in love with them. They were beautiful. They because it's not talking just about the game, but there's a story that transcends the game. And baseball is a great sport to talk about life and other issues, and using baseball as the backdrop for those moments. And then later on that summer, For Love of the Game came out, but with Kevin Costner, the lesser known Kevin Costner baseball movie. Um, but that was a book by Michael Sharma, and again, kind of talking a broader story, but using the context of baseball to illustrate that story. And so coming back from that movie, I was like, I could do this. I could write a baseball novel. But as a lot of aspiring novelists do, you get about 100 pages in, and then you just lose steam, and it just kind of falls by the wayside. So then I tried a couple more times, but I had kids, I had a family, I had soccer games, I had soccer practice, I had
Bills to
dance
pay.
classes to
Yeah.
go to. So those novelist things kind of go off the window. But now as my kids are older, they are not as in tune to spend time, uh, and they are at driving age, so I am not driving them to things anymore. I had some time and the ability to kind of work through it. So as you said this at the beginning, this is my second book. So my first novel, I wrote more about relationships between a group of buddies, as they take a trip over the course of 20 years. So I wrote that book, and then as soon as I finished that, I went, you know what? Okay, I know what it takes to write a novel,
Hmm.
and so let's get back to this baseball idea. And so the idea kind of came into my head. It's six stories, all told at one baseball game. And so what I did was I just wrote each story individually. I had a box score that I kind of made out myself before I wrote
Hmm.
any of the stories, and said, okay, this will be kind of the trajectory of the game. Now let's go to each character and write their story based on this game. What would happen? What are the
Just
ups and downs
real
of this
quick on
game?
that.
Yeah,
I really liked how that was kind of the main narrative device was the game itself, the box score. Like instead of chapters, obviously there are chapters, but it's split up into top of the ninth, bottom of the ninth, whatever, every inning. I really like that. That was unique, and it made me feel like I was also watching the game at the same
right.
time. So which was awesome. But yeah, please continue.
Yeah, so I wrote each six characters together. I wrote them individually, but based on that game. And then after I was done with all six stories, I kind of smoothed it together, put in within the context of that game, and kind of obviously made some edits going, well, I got like all six stories happening big time in the top of the fifth. I can't have everything happen at the top of the fifth. So spread things out, adjusted, found places where maybe some characters connect here and there, and really kind of set up the narrative for the final inning. But it was really important for me to have that real time aspect of the game, and partly I think is that when we all go to a baseball game or a football game, basketball game, or even the theater, everybody's having a collective experience, right, at this game. But we're all bringing our own stories into this game.
Hmm.
So what I wanted to really kind of show is that, not just I'm having my own issues going on in my own head right now as I watch this game, but the guy down the road, a couple rows down and a couple seats over, they're experiencing the same thing, but they're coming at it from a different angle. And I wanted to show just how we are all a part of a community for 3 hours, and we all are interconnected within that time frame. But we all have different things that we're working through at that
Hmm.
time.
That's honestly one of my favorite things about sports in general, and one of the reasons I really love attending live sporting events, especially ones where the crowd is really invested, because it's just like you said, 3 hours, 2 hours if it's a soccer game, whatever it is, where everyone or mostly everyone is rooting for the same thing.
Right.
And it doesn't matter about, gender, orientation, religion, whatever. You're all rooting for the same outcome,
Yeah.
and it's just like it's one of the few things that really just spans across all of those things. We experience it, you and I, in our Chelsea fan club. Like sometimes that might be the only thing that we have in common. And,
Right.
through conversation, we find out, all right, there's a little more there. We can have deeper friendships. But the baseline is we all like Chelsea Football Club. So we're all going to hang out and watch Chelsea together. And then, that's the basis for everything else. And yeah, it's just one of the special things about sports that I can't, people try to downplay the importance of it, but I think just, there's nothing else like it. Uh,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity just to feel the same thing collectively at the same time with so many different people that you don't know. Um, how many opportunities do you get that other than in a crowd atmosphere and in a game where the ebbs and flows of the games are unpredictable? No, but at the theater, some people have seen the play a dozen times, right? So
Hmm.
everybody knows what the ebbs and flows of that will be, but nobody knows the ebbs and flows of that sporting event at that moment.
You can never recreate that drama.
No.
That's the best thing about it. So in the novel, it's based around six characters, and they're all centered around one main character, Brett Austin, who's trying to hit 400 for the first time in 100 years or whatever it was. I think 80 years.
80 years,
Uh,
yep. 1941.
yeah. So in your mind, who did you? I mean, when I think of Brett Austin, for some reason I'm picturing Eric Chavez. I don't know about you, but was there someone in particular that you obviously, no one has done it since
Yeah.
Ted Williams, but is there someone that you kind of base this character on?
Yeah, I would say that it was kind of I didn't base it on his particular player, um, but I do think like the physique is somebody like kind of going back to like an Eric Karros or even a Jason Giambi type of player, somebody who um, is towards the end of their first contract, so late 20s. So obviously not Eric Karros now with his gray hair and all that, but somebody who's like that prototypical baseball player, late 20s, at the end of his first contract. He's just hitting his stride. He's hitting
Hmm.
it, and his potential is at that apex of realization. And
So,
he hasn't gotten injured too much yet,
mhm,
so his body isn't breaking down. It is just that pinnacle of the career, and I like that aspect of it because there's a line in the book about just how you know you don't know a player doesn't know what their apex of their career is. They may it, but all of a sudden they realize they're on their decline. But you never know what that apex is. But this might be an opportunity where you do because I mean, he knows he'll never reach this 400 again. It's just not going to happen. It's just everything hit just perfectly this time, and you're never going to get to 400 again. So he knows this is probably the apex of his career, but that's part of what gets into his head is going, this is it. This is the moment, and I can't mess it up
mhm. Yeah,
because I'm never going to get this opportunity again.
yeah. Like no matter what else he achieves in his career, he could, win a couple World Series, win an MVP. Someone wins a World Series every year. There's an
Right.
MVP, two MVPs every year. But yeah, nobody has hit 400 since the 1940s. And just that's again the crazy thing about baseball. I know it's so cliche, but it's the only sport where succeeding at something 30% of the time is considered a positive.
Yeah.
You just think
Well,
about it, you can't, even 3-point shooting these days. You're like, if you're a 30% 3-point shooter, you're not supposed to be taking those shots.
yeah,
So
exactly. Well, and that was another point that one of the characters says is that what's the difference between 400 and 398? One hit, right?
yeah,
But it's everything. If he doesn't hit 400, he doesn't hit 400.
yeah,
And it's one hit in a meaningless game. But if you're 400, you're a 400 hitter, and that hasn't been done in 80 years. If you're a 398 hitter,
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
great season. It's
sure.
the best season in the last 80 years still, but it's not 400.
Hmm.
And that was another part of it. Is like, especially like that record, the 56 game win or hitting streak. Those things are ones that are they're achievable, you think,
Yeah.
but are they? And they've been done. It's been done before, but will it ever happen again? Especially in this day and age, you
Hmm.
never know. But it can happen. So you never, it's that's what intrigued me about those two particular numbers was just that piece of it.
Yeah. Again, that's one of the magic things about baseball. It's just the history, the randomness, the all that stuff. So with the six characters, there's obviously the Brett Austin, the baseball player. You have Dana Peck, the sports writer. You have other people, who are either security at the Coliseum, lemonade vendors. So how did you research these? How did you learn, some of the ins and outs? Because you get really detailed with each of their not day to day, but I guess their duties at a game and all that stuff. So what was the research process like for the characters that are actually at the Coliseum?
Yeah, that's a great point. So part of it was I relied on some of my own observations going to games over the years. Um, you know, seeing how vendors kind of go up and down the stands, what what uh, what the actors do. It's kind of the unsung people the unnoticed folks that you notice you see at the game, but you don't really kind of figure out what they do. So I wanted to have some of those folks in. Dana Peck, who's the sideline reporter for the broadcast team. I really was intrigued by the glass ceiling of sports broadcasting, which it is being challenged every day. I mean, the A's have a female play-by-play person. The Orioles do as well. There's others throughout the team, but still, it is a man's more of a man's game at this point. So, what is that challenge? Is that what kind of sexism challenges is Steve facing? Um, so on all those research, so I talked to experts within the field. So I've been fortunate that I know a couple of minor league broadcasters. So I talked to them about what is the game to get up into those upper echelons of being a major league broadcaster. I talked to a friend of mine who works on the on in the truck for one of the baseball broadcasts. So he gave me an insight as to what the trailer looks like inside. How do reporters get kind of uh, asked to go talk to a fan or talk to a player or whatever? How do they maneuver throughout that process? I did was able to and fortunate that the A's gave me the full access to the team and to the organization. So I'm very grateful to the organization for that because they took me around. I got to talk to lemonade vendors or vendors. I talked to ushers. I got to see where the A's jail is. I you don't want to see it just
Yeah.
in just regular fandom, but it
Sure.
was
Sure.
nice for them to show me where it is and what their procedures are.
Hmm.
If somebody gets unruly, what do they do? How do they get people? How do they, an usher call security in? Some of those things. What happens when a foul ball comes in? How do they kind of react there? So all those little details, I wanted to understand just how the operations of the stadium work for this book, and they were really gracious in giving me that access.
What was that process like? Was it because of your previous experience as a sports writer? So you had some connections, you were able to reach out. So
Yeah,
someone
I
else
had a
wanted to do
couple of
this. Yeah.
connections. I kind of made a
Sure. Sure.
call, and just was upfront about what I was doing, and my process and what I needed to get out of it. Asking, uh, you know, with the A's, I'm sure that they're like, well, we got plenty of space for you to
Yeah.
look around. And this was 2022, so this was before any announcements or anything that were made. So I was able to, I think, everybody was, as I said, very gracious to share with me what was, and so they took me. I got handed from the head of the ushers to the head of the vendors. I got to kind of follow folks around. I kind of just sat and observed as some of these guys, they're carrying not only the drinks and all of the ice creams and everything, but they got ice going on. I didn't appreciate how much weight those guys are carrying until I really did this book because
Did you
you
give it a
watch
shot
them.
yourself? Did you
I
take
did
like a
not, thank
okay.
God. I don't think my calves can handle those stair steps as much as they do. But I mean, just watching them and what they do, and I didn't even know that they work full commission. There's no hourly salary, so
Oh,
they
wow.
what they sell, that's what they earn. So they're looking for the best deal. So you would think, oh man, they're going to sell a lot of beer. Beer's great, but the markup um, and the commission back isn't as great as like lemonade. So it was just
Wow.
interesting how they kind of negotiate what that looks like, what they're going to carry that day.
Yeah, that's the real like inside scoop that you got, or
Yeah,
inside baseball
right.
scoop that you got
Actually.
there. Uh, so one of the other things I wanted to ask you about was, some of the, I don't want to say conflicting feelings, but maybe some of the bittersweet aspect of you putting out this book around the same time as the A's announcing their departure from Oakland, which has been their home since the 1960s, I believe. They're
Hmm.
heading up to Sacramento, where we are, so I'm sure we'll catch some games next year down in West Sac. But what was that feeling like when you saw the announcement? Almost the same time that you were promoting this book, which again
Yeah,
is like a love letter to Oakland and the A's.
yeah. It's certainly bittersweet, as you said. I mean, they're 20 minutes from my house now. I'll be able to take a quick Uber to the game rather than driving hour and a half, 2 hours to get to a game. So there is a selfish component that goes, wow, this is going to be a lot easier for me uh, to go to the games now. But at the same time, as you said, you know, Oakland, it's they've been around for 50 years in Oakland, right? So um, it's and the community is all about Oakland. The East Bay is all about Oakland, and don't tell them that they can, become Giant fans in the absence of the A's. There is a different feel, and the glory of Oakland. As I said before, the fans are passionate. It's a tailgate town. As part of the culture is to go tailgate, go to the game, be a part of a college football atmosphere, and moving from the East Bay and say, oh, I'm going to drive an hour and a half to Sacramento to take in an A's game. I can see how that can be very disruptive for
Hmm.
folks, and it's just not going to be the same. So it is definitely bittersweet. And then just promoting it at this time, I was planning on trying to, to really harness in with the Oakland atmosphere and to market this book to Oakland fans as a celebration of the Coliseum, not
Hmm.
as part of a continuation of their passion for the A's and the continuation of the Coliseum, not as a nostalgic uh, grasp of what they are losing.
Hmm.
So that has been obviously a challenge to kind of keep that it. So I'm hoping that we can that fans of the Coliseum will read it like you did, kind of like, oh yeah, I remember this will take me
Hmm.
back. This will be
Yeah.
a place for me to go if I'm feeling like I want to recall those memories of my time in the Coliseum. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, and again, it was really nostalgic just seeing everything in my mind's eye. Again, the BART ride up, the walk across, the rowdy fans, the weather. It could be 90 degrees down in the South Bay, and he was like, "You better make sure to bring a hoodie because it's that once that the sun sets, once the sun dips behind, the one of the walls of the Coliseum, like that cool breeze, that cool bay breeze is gonna blow in,
One
and
thing I
everything."
forgot that I
Yeah.
didn't capture that I wanted to, I think I maybe cut it, was um, just the notion of the seagulls, circling
Yeah.
the Coliseum about the eighth inning.
They
I
know.
wanted to. I think I put it in, but then it just did not fit with the rest of the things that were going on. So I cut it out. But that was one aspect I was like, oh, I got to continue I remember writing it and going, oh yeah, the seagulls just waiting for everybody to leave so they can grab up all the torn hot dogs and the
Yep.
popcorn.
It's a place like no other. It's kind of the last of a dying breed of the mixed use stadiums and the open bowl type stadiums. Everyone's going to domes, even in cities that don't really need the domes or they have the retractable roofs and all that. So it's a relic. It's a must, I think, for all fans of baseball, for all fans of sports history to check out. And I think again, your book just captures the very essence of the stadium, the fans, the connection the fans have to the team and all that. So what's next for you? Do you have another novel brewing in there?
I completed a first draft. Now, granted, my first drafts are. I always say my first drafts are like the worst. It's basically keyboard vomit. I just put it out there,
Mhm.
and then I fix it. So the first draft is done of a novel about a cranky newspaper columnist who basically loses everything but finds gratitude and finds himself understanding that you know what, he is kind of a jerk and he needs to change. And he does that by meeting other people who exhibit that gratitude um, that can be life changing. So I like to always have like a message behind every book. Friends in Low Places, which was my first novel, was about the power of friendships, of lifelong friendships, particularly male friendships, and
Mhm.
how you know you can at one moment joke with them, the next moment want to punch them in the face, and then the next moment after that want to hug them, right? I wanted to capture that. This one, I wanted to really focus in on just don't lose yourself into your own stuff, but really be living in the present and capture what do you do in the moment? What is the thing that will bring you joy in the moment and really harness that moment? And so this next one will be about the power of gratitude and how that can be life changing.
Mhm. Yeah, the other thing from Lose Yourself I took was, the power of family, the power of human connection. I think you talked about it already, was the shared experiences and how, everyone is dealing with their own stuff. So, if you spill lemonade on someone, there's probably something else going on behind their reaction or their overreaction. So again, no
Right,
spoilers.
exactly. And that's not a spoiler alert.
Yeah, no, it's not at all. Uh, but thank you so much, Vince. Again, we said it's all available on all major online retailers. Is there anywhere that folks can follow you directly to get
Yeah.
to order direct as well?
Yeah. You can go. I have a what's called a Substack, which is a newsletter that folks can go to, and it's Vince Wetzel, one word, .substack.com. I have like short stories, kind of life quotes, uh, kind of steps on my writing journey, and just random thoughts that folks can go on there, and that's where they can also link direct, or it's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, bookshop.org if you want to support your local independent bookshop. They give a commission out to local bookstores. So if you don't like to give the money to Jeff, uh, give money to some local independent business owners. That's the way to do it.
Love that. Love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your experience. Guys, trust me, go out there if you're a sports fan, if you're an Oakland fan, an A's fan, go out, buy this book, take a little nostalgic ride. And yeah, it was great from start to finish. So thank you again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Khaled. I really appreciate you having on. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.